As the number of COVID-19 cases continue to rise, local government leaders who are tasked to provide care and protection to the people continue to face difficulties. The challenges are multiplied once the proposals for an extended quarantine would take effect. What more should local executives do to meet the public's clamor for better services? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. And welcome to this special episode of The Chiefs. And joining us tonight in this episode is Interior Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya. Sir, thank you for joining us and welcome again to The Chiefs.
Thank you, Ed, and good evening to all our televiewers.
Sir, kumusta kayo? Asa kayo ngayon?
I'm under house arrest by my wife.
Well, that's not a bad thing, is it?
No, well, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad.
Okay, make sure that she doesn't watch this. But you're under house arrest because of Secretary Anyo, who tested positive.
Yes, as a precaution, and in accordance with DOH protocols, I took a self quarantine starting Saturday night after our show at the other network.
Oh, kamusta po si Secretary Anyo?
Yeah, he's doing very well. He has no symptoms at all. So we just had a teleconference with him this morning and also yesterday, and he's very active. He's very what can you say? He's his usual self.
Of course, he's under very, very, very strict monitoring, I would assume.
He has no symptoms. Yes. Well, of course, he's taking all the precautions. But I really don't see in him anything weakening or anything. It's his normal self.
Well, of course, sir, it is a matter of public interest kasi he is a member of the cabinet and he was also dealing a lot with the president and other people very, very close to the president, including members of the cabinet, his fellow members of the cabinet, and so on down the line. Has anybody else within the cabinet shown any symptoms or tested positive for COVID-19?
Well, Ed, I wouldn't know. I'm at home.
No, of course you're in touch with everybody else.
I don't really know the protocols that are being implemented there. No, well, the most that I can say right now is that Secretary is in full control of the department because of this new technology. Right now, it's really not impossible to be able to direct the operations of the entire DILG, including the Philippine National Police and our two other attached agencies, the BGMP and the BFP. And we do understand that we are at the forefront of this battle, but it's not affecting the Secretary's energy or his enthusiasm or his spirit. No, he is in full control of the situation, and as Vice Chairman of the National Task Force to implement the NAP for COVID-19, he's in full control and is doing his best for the public and for the country to win the war against COVID-19.
Yes, sir. Well, we do have to ask about that because, of course, this is a critical time, particularly now, with the cases not yet plateauing, with the curve not yet flattening. And last night, the president came out on air, and he was quite. He did seem quite upset over certain things that appeared to have happened yesterday. For example, I think he mentioned shooting people at least 3 times in his address yesterday. Hindi lang shooting, patayin. And I suppose that came out because of what happened with what happened in Quezon City, yung medyo nagkagulo.
Yes, Ed. I think we have to take this in the context of what you call that? In the context of the statement of the president has to be taken in the context of what happened yesterday. No, there was a mass gathering, and that mass gathering was of course prohibited, and government had to request and ask those people to disperse. Unfortunately, the said group did not disperse, so arrests have to be made. So if we take this in the context, for example, of what has happened in the past, no. Government has to show a firm hand. And when the president mentioned the words shoot the protesters or shoot anyone, it was in the context of violence, meaning um, our peace officers are in a position to use deadly force if these people who are unruly or in these people who are protesting would do so with violence, and that violence can bring harm or put the lives of our police officers on the line. So that
Yes,
is
sir.
when that was how it was explained by the president.
Yes, sir. Well, we do understand, of course, in the protocols of the police, they are allowed to use deadly force. However, when they do use deadly force, normally it's in the context of having to incapacitate somebody instead of having to kill somebody. Well, let me ask you that. How did that come across to you? The president was quite adamant. He mentioned it around 3 or 4 times. And of course, we understand that you're saying that the government has to show a firm hand. But on the other hand, you also have people complaining na hindi sila inaabot ng tulong and we're going into week 3 of the quarantine. So paano po yung pagbabalance at pagtitimbang ng dalawang yon? Yung the need to show a firm hand versus the need to show compassion for people who kumakalabang sikmura.
Yes, tama ka. Um, the concerns raised by the different sectors, no, especially this sector that protested, they're all legitimate concerns, no. They're legitimate concerns. That's why the Quezon City government is already acting on it, and the national government is already acting on the request, no, of the appeal of our countrymen na di din naabutan ng tulong. Tomorrow we will be launching the largest single financial assistance in the history of our country, no. This is financial assistance in the form of 8,000 pesos for residents of Metro Manila and 5,500 or 6,000 depending on the minimum wage in other parts of the country. Some 18 million households will be benefited by this program, and it all begins tomorrow in Manila and in Parañaque. No, why is the national government doing this? Because the national government wishes to augment the resources available to our local government units. You know, and every day we monitor all of the local government units, and they're really doing all that they can. It's just so happened that the Metro Manila is one of the densest mega cities in the world. We're on the top 10 of the cities, the biggest cities in the world. Mega cities actually are classification, which is why we have around 12 to 13 million. So, given the difficulty of providing food for all of these people who were displaced by COVID-19, the national government is stepping in accordance with the Bayanihan Act. Now, it is in that context that I wish to explain where the president came from. Because as part of the DILG, we have the Philippine National Police, and the Philippine National Police has been monitoring all of these leftist organizations. And Kadamay was the group that organized the protest in Quezon City yesterday. And we have monitored this, and it is not only in Quezon City. In fact, Ed, no, there are many other places, depressed areas in Metro Manila, where Kadamay is actively organizing and asking people to go out and protest and defy the mass gathering, defy the social distancing, and ask the government to shut down and to remove the enhanced community quarantine. And knowing Kadamay being a political front of the CPP-NPA, you know, as a journalist, Ed, no, you know the track record of this group, no, they're part of a larger conspiracy to bring about social unrest and to take advantage of this of the people's need at this time and take advantage to gain a political advantage, no. And that is where the president was talking about, no. He wanted to put a stop to this because government has to show a firm hand. We're dealing with a public health emergency. We have to implement closely the prohibition against mass gathering. We have to ensure that the social distancing is implemented. And given that there is an organized group out there with links to the CPP-NPA who are out to overthrow government, I think the president decided that enough is enough. I have to make a warning to all of you. And that I think is the proper context when we listen to the president.
Yes, sir. But I understand that it is a consistent narrative of the government that Kadamay and the other leftist groups are supposed to be linked to the CPP-NPA. However, so long as they do not violate the law, then that should not be an issue because of, the Anti-Subversion Act was repealed in 1994. However, going to the Bayanihan Act, granted that Kadamay was involved in what happened in Quezon City, wouldn't that be immaterial? Wouldn't it be more material if you look at whether or not the relief goods were going to the intended beneficiaries? Even the barangay involved there admitted that they have not been able to serve everybody they were supposed to serve in the last 2 weeks, and it is going to the third week already. So what I mean, sir, is in the end, whether Kadamay was involved in it or not, sa huli po, baka naman these people really have a right to ask for relief.
Yeah, Ed, walang problema doon. Tama naman kayo, no? This is a legitimate concern. That's why we're now acting on it. That's why, as I said, the government is launching tomorrow the largest single financial assistance program that the Republic of the Philippines has seen. Okay?
Why? Sir, tell us about that.
Because we heard the pleas of the people. No, we understand. We listen. People has this impression that people in government don't listen. We cannot not listen, especially at this time when everybody is on social media. Everybody's criticizing. Everybody's offering. Everybody is a scientist. Everybody is an infectious disease expert. Everybody is a doctor. So we listen, which is precisely the reason why we're launching tomorrow a financial aid program to benefit some 18 million families nationwide. Now, I do understand that the subversion law, the anti-subversion law, was repealed, no. But please remember that the Kadamay, as a front organization of the CPP, and the CPP being an organization dedicated to the overthrow of government using armed struggle, makes it difficult for the government not to take their actions, to be suspicious of their actions, no, because we all know that this is just part of a greater whole. They operate on the red area, they operate on the white area, and in the white areas, they claim to be human rights activists. They claim to be supporters of the people, and yet the left hand, on the other hand, is killing our soldiers. In fact, despite the ceasefire between the CPP-NPA and the Armed Forces of the Philippines, there was an attack on government forces doing relief work on COVID. So can government be blamed for being suspicious of the aims of this group, using legitimate concerns, using legitimate demands for food, and turning it to take advantage of the people's displeasure to incite people to go against government? And I think that is what has to be made clear to our people. That's the context of where the president was coming from.
Okay, sir. Let me move forward na lang. Doon po sa sinasabi niyong launching tomorrow, can you give us details as to how this will be done? What are the parameters? What are the guidelines? And how will people be able to tap into this?
Okay. Very briefly, the government is allotting 8,000 pesos in NCR for every household who falls under the classification of the informal economy. Either poor, indigent, or the informal economy. Meaning, those who are in the formal economy, those who have jobs and who have leave credits, who have SSS benefits, who have GSIS benefits, no, they are not covered by the program. They have another set of benefits, okay, and which I hope I can explain later, no. But let's focus first on the informal economy, which is the bigger chunk of the country. So we are able to identify them using the 4Ps program. So tomorrow, the 4Ps beneficiaries will start receiving their payouts through the cash card. Okay? And the payouts will be...
Ito po yung mga luma nilang ATM. Ito yung mga luma nilang pinag-withdrawan.
Yes, Ed. Kasi meron na silang mga ATMs na hawak. No? So wala nang profiling para sa kanila. Wala nang mga lista-lista para sa kanila, papasok na yung pera sa kanilang ATM. Now, maximum 8,000. Normally kasi natatanggap ng ating mga kababayan na 4Ps beneficiaries are 1,500, 2,000. Ngayon, gagawin na yan 8,000. No questions asked. As so long as you're a 4Ps beneficiary, pasok na kaagad sa bank account mo yan bukas, no? That's why I was asking if the DSWD can join us later, because they have more the details. But this information I was given. Okay. Now, as to the non-4-piece beneficiaries, every family must fill up the form, the SAC form. And the SAC form is like your entitlement to the program. But whenever you receive the benefits of the program, the government or the barangay official will sign that SAC form, which is the basis or like an evidence. No, it acts like an evidence that you are an entitled person and that they have received this amount of money from the government.
So, sir, bale, yung barangay will be the one to confirm na this guy nga is supposed to be beneficiary because he is poor.
Yes, the DSWD has guidelines, and the DSWD has given those guidelines to the local government units. And the local government units have also briefed the barangays. No, hindi lahat ng LGUs mabilis, Edna. Some are fast, some are slow. So this is the process. And then the local government units will have to talk to the barangays, and the barangays will then identify the beneficiaries per barangay. Now, even if the person was identified as a beneficiary by the barangay, it will still be subject to approval of the DSWD, because the DSWD will then check with the database, and if the person, for example, has already been identified as a 4-piece beneficiary, then hindi na po siya entitled. And if the person has already been identified as a dole tupad beneficiary, hindi na rin po siya entitled. That is the reason why it's very important for the beneficiaries to retain a copy of the SAC form, because that is their entitlement form. Dalawang kopya po yan. One is for the SAC, for the beneficiary, and one is for the barangay or the LGU.
Sir, reviewin ko lang para klaro tayo. So, yung first group, yung existing 4-piece beneficiaries na meron ng ATM cards, diretso nang papasok sa kanila yon. Wala nang kailangang pilipan doon, wala nang kailangang gawin, diretso lang, withdraw na lang sila.
Correct.
At typically, they would get 1,500 to 2,000. Now, if they're supposed to get 8, they will now get 6,500 or 6,000, depending on how much they were supposed to get previously. Ibig sabihin na nakabalanse na yun.
That's for NCR.
Okay. NCR.
For the rest of the country, different amounts. No, may 5,500, may 6,000, may 7,000.
So, bukod na yun, wala tayong problema doon. That's how many families, sir? More or less. How many million? 4 million? 4 million. Okay. Yeah. But we are looking initially at mga 18 million na nabibigyan tulong. So, mayroon pang natitirang 14 million doon sa balanse.
Yes.
Pero remember the bayanihan na kasi 18 million nakalagay eh.
Tama, 18 million households. Yes, correct.
So, meron ka pong 14 million. Yung balancing 14 million, dito babagsak yung SAP form, yung Social Amelioration Program form.
That's right.
Yung SAP form.
Right.
And where will they get this, sir? Sa barangay?
Sa barangay, ganito yan nangyari dyan. No? The DSWD has requested and deputized the LGU as implementer of the program. So, they sent out via email the forms. Now, ito pa mga forms nito, hindi po pwede ipasirox because these are barcoded forms.
Okay.
And since these are barcoded forms, these are unique and individual to each family. So, this will be distributed by the LGU to the local to the barangay, and then the barangay will then distribute to all of the poor families in their respective areas.
Let me put it this way, sir. Bale, this is going to be launched tomorrow. Yung hindi pa kasama sa 4-piece, where will they go tomorrow? They will go straight to the barangays tomorrow morning? And what do they need to bring?
Ganito yan. As I said, Ed, no? As I said, iba-ibang klase LGU. May mga masisipag, may mga mabibilis, may mga mahihina, no? So tomorrow, ang sure pa lang ako based on the information
Manila and Parañaque,
is that Manila and Parañaque. So sa Manila, we will launch it in Tondo. So there is a specific barangay or set of barangays na magi-distribute tayo ng SAP or magibigay tayo ng emergency subsidy. I-distribute natin yan ng alas 3 ng hapon at pagdating naman ng alas 4 sa Barangay Vitalis naman tayo sa Parañaque. Now, yung rollout nito in the rest of the country, I think we will have to ask the DSWD. The DSWD will in a better position to share this information.
Pero sir, for those barangays that will be undertaking this tomorrow, what do the intended beneficiaries need to bring, if anything?
Wala. They just need the form. Because if they don't have the form, there's nothing to sign. So wag po nilang wawalain yung kanilang SAC form.
You're talking about a form, a specific form tailor-fitted to each family? that is emailed to each family
No. Ganito.
or to the barangays?
The SAC forms were emailed to the local government unit, and the
Opo.
local government unit printed all these SAC forms, and sabi namin sa kanila, you can print it using any paper you want. And then the local government unit distributes all the SAC forms to the various barangays that compose that local government unit. And then it is not the responsibility of the barangay to distribute these forms to the beneficiaries. And then the
Okay.
beneficiaries will have to fill up these forms. Dalawang kopya po yan. And then the beneficiaries will return these forms to the barangay. And then the barangays will return the forms to the LGU, which will then encode all of the names in a master list. And then the master list will be returned back to the DSWD field office, and the DSWD field office will check on the veracity of the contents. And when the DSWD says we're ready, he will tell the LGU, you can now distribute. Now, on the day of distribution, the DSWD and the barangay will go down to the beneficiaries house to house, and then they will ask for the SAC form of the house. If the SAC form is there, they will sign it, and then they will turn over the funds to the barangay. And that ends the entire process. And then we will repeat that again next month, where another set of financial assistance will be given, because under the Bayanihan Act, this is good for 2 months.
Yes, sir. That's good. That's looking like an enormous logistical nightmare for anybody. You're looking at 90 million people. If you're looking at 18 million families, basically 90 million people.
Exactly, Ed. No, that's why I wanted to emphasize whenever I'm interviewed, I emphasize this is the largest financial assistance of the Republic of the Philippines in our history, since they were established in 1898 during the First Philippine Republic. So this is an enormous logistical challenge. That's why the LGUs are involved. No, they were deputized by the DSWD because the DSWD has no manpower on the ground. No, it is only the local government units that have the manpower and have the knowledge of who are the poor families. Ang barangay chairman, kilala niya lahat ang tao sa kanyang barangay. Kung di niya kilala, he has no reason to be a
No
barangay
business being in
chairman.
barangay chairman.
Sir, being a barangay official.
Yes, sir. So, sir, we're running out of time. Let me ask you one more question. Ano po, yung possibility po ng extending the quarantine, is this being seriously looked at? Kasi for example, yung DTI, si Secretary Mon Lopez is more partial to a gradual lifting of the quarantine even before we hit April 13. Is the DILG looking at a lifting of the quarantine or an extension of the quarantine?
Well, Secretary Anyo's position, and he has said this publicly in the past, is that he would like to have the quarantine lifted on April 14. No, He wants the economy to go back on track. He wants things to move, be back to normal, and everybody wants to get back to normal. Pero alam mo, Ed, this is a public health emergency first and foremost. No, it's a calamity, and we're used to calamities because of natural disasters. But this is really the first time that we're facing a public health emergency, and this is where we have to say that science should be in charge. No, meaning we have to defer to the Department of Health on this, and I think the Department of Health has already created a technical working group to study how soon we can get out of this mess, if I can call it a mess, no? Because everybody wants to go back to normal, but we do not want to waste the entire quarantine and have a second wave. No? Mas maganda na yung one time, big time pahirapan na. Anyway, gumagastos naman ang gobyerno ng bilyon-bilyon. Pagtsagaan na natin to, nandyan na yan eh. No? So, the technical working group, I understand, is already meeting, and all of the data is being collected from all the hospitals to show if how successful we've been in the quarantine, and if all of these science things that I'm not really familiar with. They're doing data analytics, they're doing modeling. The best minds from the National Institute of Health of UP, PGH, and all of our infectious disease experts have been convened by the Department of Health, because at the end of the day, we follow what the Department of Health says. If the Department of Health says
they get the biggest voice in this decision.
Yes, because if you look at the National Task Force, some of the critics are saying, oh, the government response has been militarized because we have General Lorenzana and we have former General Anyo and General Galvez, all these are former generals from the AFP. But if you look at the structure of the National Task Force, above this is the IATF. And the IATF is the policy-making body of the National Task Force, and it's chaired by Secretary Duque. And he's the only guy who can tell us if we can lift this lockdown, or if we can do a partial lift, or we can do selective lift, or I don't really know. So let's hope and pray that we get to the situation where our doctors and our scientists and our medical experts can tell us that now is the time for us to move on and forget that we ever went through this COVID-19 crisis.
Well, maraming salamat po, Undersecretary Johnson Malaya. Sir, best of luck to you. Hope you turn out negative.
Me too. Maraming salamat po. Mabuhay po kayo.
Thank you, sir. And that will be all for this edition of The Chiefs. We hope what to discuss here will keep the conversation going. I'm Ed Lingao. We are One News.